3 episodes ago or 4 episodes ago, you had an episode discussing about LGBTQ in the Philippines.
Yeah, especially this month. It's a
Yeah, yeah.
the
So
the, the,
this
the
month
the
actually
Pride Month.
coincides Pride
Yeah,
Month in the Philippines.
in
Um,
the world, I guess.
yeah, yeah. But to be honest with you, it started what from what I've seen online. It started in 1994, right?
Yeah, I don't
1994,
know the whole
1995.
history. It used to be just like a day
Right.
until
It
uh
just popped up.
some point it became a month.
Right. Right.
Mm.
So
So
yeah, I think from what I saw, it was June 26, 1994,
yeah, the
when Pride Month,
Stonewall, yeah, the
yeah,
Stonewall
started.
riots.
So about 30 years ago. Now, I grew up my early years in the Philippines, and to
Mm,
be honest with you, the whole movement was practically non-existent in the Philippines, right?
mm, mm.
So
Yeah, yeah,
all of a sudden, it just popped up.
yeah. That's right.
So how do you think it has really represented itself towards or applicable to the Philippine culture?
Uh, I think it just popped up because of the influence of the
Hmm.
West, since we see Western news,
Yeah.
the movies, TV shows.
Right.
It's become ubiquitous in all of those aspects. Even the companies from the West
Hmm.
that are like brands that we have in the Philippines from the West, uh, Facebook. So it went into popularity maybe just around the 2010
Hmm.
onwards. We don't
Hmm.
see much like pride marches
Right.
before that. If ever, it's not like a big of a celebration.
Right.
So I think we're just taking cue from what the West is doing,
Kind of
and
like hitching up the bandwagon, so to speak.
it seems like it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
seems like it.
So is the movement actually making its mark by what it actually means and for what it stands for? Is it actually helping it and
At
making a stance for what it stands for?
at this point, I really don't know what it stands for
Yeah. Yeah.
anymore. Uh, it seems to be. It used to be. It used to stand for uh, anti-discrimination. We just don't want to be
Right.
bullied. From
Right.
what I what I understand, if there are pride marches in the early 2000s to 2010s,
Hmm.
uh, I think that's what they're fighting for. Uh,
Hmm.
Same way that what they fought for on the like the Stonewall
Right.
riots.
Right.
So they just don't want to be bullied, quote unquote, discriminated
Right. Basically
against,
accepted as well. As well.
basically accepted. Uh, and, and there are some changes that I would uh, like like uh, be with them.
Right.
For instance, like the anti-sodomy laws before in the U.S.
Hmm.
I think that's too much.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, so I think I can get behind with them on that. The death penalty for being gay in the Middle East, for
Hmm.
instance,
Hmm.
or an Islamic country. I think I can march with you
Hmm.
with the LGBT people on that.
Right.
But at some point, I think the line was crossed when they're they're pushing for, let's say, same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
Obergefell, Obergefell versus Hodges there in the U.S. Uh,
Wow. Can't believe you know that.
I think it happened 2015.
Yeah.
I was just talking to another podcaster, Jonathan Van Maren, uh, and he said it's 2015. Check fact check me on that,
Fact
but
check.
I think it's around that period,
Right.
around 2010 onwards.
Right.
When that happened, I think the shift in the what they're fighting for followed as well. Like they started to
Hmm.
fight for same-sex marriage,
Hmm.
which I don't agree with.
Right.
The redefinition of marriage, I think there's a larger cultural, societal implication if we we changed the meaning of marriage from man woman to same sex.
Hmm.
So that's when I think the movement crossed the line. The other uh, the other one the other thing that they fought for that I think crossed the line is the the ability to be able to join, like if you're a biological male who identify as female, the ability to
Right.
join women's sports, to enter female bathrooms. So
Right.
I think
Right.
that's a bit uh, like crossing the line.
it,
And
it's it's a huge drastic change and whatnot that I personally don't
mm,
agree with as well, because you can't have male
yeah,
athletes like
yeah,
joining female sports as well, because there's just no difference. It's no chance, I mean, there,
yeah,
there is a
yeah.
big difference, and in a way it's kind of not fair in some sports,
Right,
that is,
right, right, right. I I can understand if like uh, even if you're a biological male who joins beauty pageants, well,
right,
at least the woman has the advantage there, but
correct,
it still doesn't bode
right,
well for me.
right. So the movement itself for LGBTQs, I think one of the big things is they're really fighting for acceptance, right?
Right,
But
right.
as you've clearly stated, it has expanded in so many different ways. First, it was just the
Yeah,
gays and the
yeah,
lesbians, and then the
yeah.
others
That's right.
obviously joined in.
Mm,
Um, in the Philippines, though, as it was, I've always thought, based on experience and my personal conversations with
mm.
others as well, that homosexuality has always been accepted,
I I would
right? Or
I
no?
think so as well. I think so as well. I'm old enough to remember that in the
Right.
80s there are a lot of like parlor gays, as we call them, like
Yes,
in
that's exactly
the beauty
what I'm
parlor.
saying. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean,
Uh,
I
that's
grew up
right.
in the Philippines in the '80s and the early, very, very early and short '90s. So in a
Yeah,
way, I still have some kind of relation to what it was back then over there.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and and homosexuality has, and there's always been an embrace towards it. You know.
Yeah, right. If ever we need to improve on something, on how we, we how we interact with our brothers
Right.
and sisters in the
Right.
LGBT movement, is
Correct.
they used to be the butt of jokes, for instance. So maybe that's crossing the line for us who are not part of the movement. So
Right. Right.
so they used to be the butt of jokes. They used to be like, and I would agree that sometimes in schools they're bullied,
Mm,
and that's not cool. Of course, I
of course.
uh, we need to stop that. And that's why I'm saying that if that's what if that's only what you're fighting for, I could stand behind you. I could cheer you
Hmm.
on.
Right.
uh,
Right.
I agree that's a middle ground that we could
Right.
have a discussion on with our brothers and sisters
Hmm.
on the movement. Yeah, yeah. The Philippines, at some point we are called the gay capital of Asia,
Is
because
that really true? I've never
because
heard of that.
you it, you won't it, like 60 seconds won't pass without you seeing another gay walking
Yeah.
around
Yeah. That's true. That's
to the
true.
mall,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
You just go to the mall and uh, just
Is
yep. Go
is
ahead.
is it safe to say that bringing up the movement, the LGBTQ movement, and actually presenting it practically on an open stage and raising the so-called the awareness of it, isn't it now kind of causing more issues in the Philippines in regards to the homosexuality, um, in the day-to-day life? Because
Mm,
it's like
mm.
even though it's not on the open stage, it's accepted as is. But now
Yeah,
that
yeah,
it's an open stage out there, people are being, I guess, shown more that the difference where, okay, you're supposed to be accepted this, accepting that, yada
mm.
yada yada. Oh, you're not supposed to
Yeah,
accept
yeah.
this, you're not supposed to
That's right.
accept that,
Uh,
right?
yeah, the thing is, they have transcended from we just want to be accepted or even tolerated
Right,
to
right,
you need to celebrate us, and like, or you even need to participate. You know what I
I
mean?
yeah, I don't understand that though because
No, no.
there's no
Uh,
mandate man
oh,
you
you're
know
right, right, right. So, at least the celebration, the
right
participation. Maybe we're not there yet in the U.S. There's a
right
bit of requirement for participation. Let's say I heard about a hockey player
mm-hmm,
who was who don't want to participate on the Pride event there in
mm-hmm,
the U.S. and
mm-hmm.
I think he is almost canceled there. So there
I see, yeah, I
so
think I
so
know which one you're talking about.
yeah so the call for participation, it might not be here in the Philippines yet,
Right.
but who knows? Uh, Maybe like last year, I talked about drag queen story hour
Mm-hmm.
in the U.S.
Right.
and some people who I talked to said that that won't happen here in the country. That won't happen in the Philippines. But just this month, there's already a drag queen story
Right.
hour in
But there's
Cebu.
always something though. There's always something in the Philippines that celebrates it already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's always open, it's
That's
always
right.
been
That's right.
openly accepted and celebrated in the Philippines. And I think what the movement is doing is it's kind of tarnishing the way it's already been accepted in the Philippines.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah.
Para siyang reverse effect ba?
Oo nga.
Tama ba yung
It's
sinabi ko?
actually not. That's right. That's right. It's actually doing an injustice pa nga
Right.
sa
Right.
brothers and
That's correct.
sisters and sa movement. Parang dati
Uh-uh.
we don't mind
Right.
if you're gay or lesbian. Ngayon,
Right.
sadly, some people baka naiinis na for overdoing this thing. And
Mm-hmm.
naapektuhan tuloy yung parang walang kamalay-malay na gay
Yeah.
or lesbian, di ba?
Right.
So I think
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
that's what's happening. Uh, yeah,
I mean,
and yeah,
sorry,
no,
I
go ahead.
apologize for cutting
Yeah.
you off. But the homosexuality of a person in the Philippines, they've always. I mean, again, I don't know now. I haven't been there in over a
Mm,
decade, but back then, it's always been easier to just open up on who you really are. I grew up with a couple of guys who were gay in
mm,
the Philippines, and it's never been an issue when they bring it up or how they were all of a sudden, hey, bakla pala ako,
mm.
and it's like, okay, what else?
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
never been an issue. But
yeah,
now it seems like the arrival of the LGBTQ movement has kind of caused a stir or an unnecessary stir, so to
yeah,
speak, because
yeah.
it's kind of
That's
teaching
right.
the people to have your opinions that's right or wrong about something that's really
Mm,
in hindsight kind of normal in the Philippines, right?
yeah, yeah, and not only that, Jay. The There's also these additional letters in the alphabet that has been added. So
Yeah.
that went out like
Right.
the non-binary,
Don't get me
the
started with the
pansexual,
pronouns.
yeah, the pronouns, right? So
Right.
it used to be fine. We can coexist with each other. Just be like just here's my thing, Jay.
Hmm.
Just don't redefine marriage. So that's one. Don't redefine the meaning of man and woman. So
Right.
that's two. And just don't groom children. So that's
Correct.
only. I think that's just. I'm a minimalist when it comes to these things, and if only you you
Yeah.
could stay beyond that line, because there's a
Right.
societal effect whenever
There is.
you
There is.
you
Not
redefine stuff. Uh,
especially in individual mentality. You know.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
mean, it's so funny that you mentioned that because I was trying to segue into one of the episodes, which actually relates to this
mhm.
that you've had, where a young boy in the Philippines celebrated his birthday party. I think it was
Yeah.
seventh or eighth birthday party in a gown,
Uh,
and his parents
yeah, yeah.
willingly just make an announcement for him.
For him, and they even like announce that he's part of the LGBTQ
Right.
community, right? So it seems like it's more for the sake of the parents than for the kid.
Exactly. It's like for show trying to get into the bandwagon, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. And it saddens me because those things, I told you, the drag queen story hour used to happen in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's happening in the Philippines. Those things used to happen to just happen in the US. Like you'll hear a celebrity like Charlize Theron or Megan Fox who
Yeah.
has a kid
Yeah.
who's trans, and they'll have a party for it.
I don't I have nothing against it, and I love the movement with all honesty, to
Mm,
be honest with
mm,
you, because I've accepted people for who they are, what they are,
mm.
whatever.
Yeah.
But for somebody like that Filipino family and making an announcement for their 7-year-old child, who I believe does not have the
Mm.
proper thought or guidance yet in their own accordance to make that decision, you can't just make an announcement just like that. You know
Yeah,
it.
it's like you outed your
Right.
child. And if I'm understanding this correctly, outing someone else is kind of, it's like a cardinal sin
It's an insult. It's an absolute sin. Yes.
for them, right? For
Hmm.
them, outing someone, uh
It's
it's
taking
supposed to be a
away.
personal thing, right?
It's taking away their personal right, rebirth right,
Mm,
so to speak.
yeah, yeah. So I'm not sure how will that go in the future.
Right.
I'm just thankful that puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones are
Right.
not a thing yet here in the country.
Yeah.
Uh, like in the US, I've been sounding the alarm on this as well in the Philippines, because a lot of European countries already hit the brakes on this. Sweden, Hungary, I think
Right.
Romania as well, even the UK. The cast review came out in the UK, which basically says that transitioning your kids really doesn't help with
Mm-hmm.
their mental
Mm-hmm.
mental health. So that's why in the UK they're hitting the brakes. The largest gender clinic in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
Tavistock, the
Mm-hmm.
Tavistock clinic, they just uh, closed that clinic. So we're not seeing these news in the Philippines.
Right.
So in the Philippines, what we're seeing are just uh, what the media feeds us,
Right. And
and
I think that's where the LGBTQ movement really fits in the Philippines, though. It's kind of gotten to be
yeah.
like a, um, well,
Mm.
again, it's just riding the train of like the coat
Right.
train of the Western culture, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's right. And my frustration is we could just uh, skip that part
yeah.
and head head to the learnings by the
Right.
West.
Right. So the next question is: everybody deals with it in their own way, and I believe that
Mm,
Filipinos have basically there's no dealing with it because it's automatically accepted, at least
mm.
from my experience over there. Of course, there's not
Yeah.
everybody, there's
Yeah.
going to be people who's going to throw hate here and there, but I've
Yeah.
never been to a country that has accepted homosexuality with open arms,
Yeah.
downright from a weeks long fiesta of in the Philippines, or it being celebrated so openly in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
You know,
That's right. That's right. Like there are. Yeah. I agree.
yeah.
And that's my question. What?
How do you think? Okay, here's the final question in regards to this for you, for the movement itself, the LGBTQ movement.
Mm.
Is it really necessary or applicable to the Philippines?
The movement itself, depending on what their goal is, their
Right.
goal mostly is to pass the SOGI bill, equality bill, is what they call
Mm.
the sexual orientation,
Mm-hmm.
gender identity, and expression bill.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure it will stop with that. Of course, So depending on what their goal is, but what I would like, what I've been doing is try to separate the activists from people who are actually have same-sex attractions or gender dysphoria, uh, because not all people who have same-sex attraction or
Right.
gender dysphoria are activists, and not all activists have same-sex attraction or LGBT, identify as
Right.
LGBT.
Mm-hmm.
So I I separate those two, and in the lifetime of the podcast, I received messages
Mm-hmm.
from people who said they're part of the movement, who
Mm-hmm.
recognize the excesses of their movement. So
Mm-hmm.
they just don't want to be named, but they're sending me messages, encouraging messages that they support the
The
cause
movement,
of
the cause. Yeah.
I mean the cause of the podcast. Well,
Okay.
my cause, yeah, my
Mm-hmm.
cause.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and yeah, I your question, do we need the of course I'll be biased. I'd say no, you don't
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
the movement that's pushing for these laws,
Right. Right.
the the soji bill
Mm-hmm.
laws. And uh, maybe we could discuss why we don't need the bill. Maybe that's another hour of
Right.
conversation. I
Yeah.
had a
Yeah.
lengthy debate on this one. If you want to listen to it, to your audience, it's in a podcast called the PI podcast. So we
Okay.
discuss
All right.
the Soji bill there. I
Yeah.
had a conversation with a pro Soji bill
Mm-hmm.
advocate, but yeah, I don't think we need the movement. Number
Mm-hmm.
one, because there's really no good evidence as it stands. I think that LGBT people are locked out of the market,
Right. Right.
or jobs,
I see what you're saying.
or
Yeah.
or or they were not able to get material goods for
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
LGBT. I don't think there's
Mm-hmm.
good evidence to back
Right.
that up. If anything, many companies, especially those with ESG agenda,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
environmental social governance agenda, foreign companies actively look for LGBT
Right. Right.
people to
Right.
to
Right.
fill out their diversity quotas.
Right.
So
Right.
those who
I.
are
I.
doing affirmative action. So
Right.
there are many companies like that here in the Philippines.
Yeah. In my case, I think the life of itself for the movement, well, the lifestyle has already been always been accepted openly,
Mm,
as you've
mm,
stated as well. It's been accepted in the workplace and in entertainment business and
mm,
day to day living, so forth and so forth. That the movement, I think, just it's something that's already normal in the Philippines.
mm,
Actually, some countries like the U.S. could follow in regards to
mm.
the acceptance of it in the Philippines. That the
Yeah,
movement itself, it's
yeah,
not that normal. It's normal. It should be okay. It's not really needed in the Philippines. I
yeah.
don't think so
They,
because it's just normal there now.
yeah, they maybe uh, there's some like there's some middle grounds
Yeah.
we could have with them. Not a formal movement. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if they need a formal movement,
Yeah.
but there are some middle grounds. Like let's say the bathrooms. I'm against a biological man entering who identify as a woman entering a
Right.
female bathroom,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we can have a middle ground of like have a third bathroom
Right.
for
Right.
them if you're
And if
uncomfortable.
that's the country where I think it'd be easy to do something like that as well.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
though as Catholic as a country it
Yeah,
is.
and we actually do have a
That's
third bathroom
that's
already.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.